Hey, if you got this part of the video, you've got the live unedited edition. Home Gadget Geeks Thursday night. It's the 20th of July, 2023. Just now, 8 p.m. in the Central Time Zone, 9 Eastern. If you've got this any other time than that, you've got the recorded version on YouTube. This is the unedited part. Hang tight. We'll get started here in just a few minutes. This is really for the folks who come out and join us live. I see a few of you out there. Check in the chat room. If you are joining us, I'm here with Marv Bee. Marv, hey, welcome to the pre-show.
Well, glad to be here.
Glad to have you.
In the pre-show.
Yeah, this is the show before the show.
Show before the show.
The show before the show. Just give some. I used to do this a lot more. It kind of turned into the drinking. You know what we were drinking. That's
Right.
what this turned into. Do you have while we're doing it? Do you have
I
a
did.
refreshment?
I went and my Yingling traditional lager.
You're kind of your go-to. I think I've seen that the last couple times.
So I was at the fridge, so I didn't bring anything from the house because remember I'm at my office.
Right.
So here at the office we do have a little kitchenette and we do keep stuff for entertaining clients. And anytime somebody comes into town, you know, the wife likes to have them visit the office and, you know, brag. So we put a bunch of stuff there. So I had that. Had a Bud Light Blue.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, let me do this. I haven't drank. And I'm like, nope, can't do it. I'm not a Bud Light drinker.
Yeah. No, I'm not. The light beers have never really done it for me. You know?
Well, so I did. So what's funny is I did do Heineken Light for a long time.
Okay. What'd you like about that?
Well, it was, I thought it was cool to drink a, foreign light beer.
Is it really foreign? I think they brew some of this in the U.S. Well,
Yeah,
they say it's a
they
product of Holland. I thought it was a product of Germany, but they're actually I have the Heineken. I have the full strength. I got 2 bottles of this on discount at our grocery store. Listen, 3 years ago, $75 beer or $75, 75-cent beer was not that great of a deal. You'd be like, oh, okay, I'm saving a few nickels.
Yeah.
Lately, like they haven't raised the discount beer price.
Wow.
And it's all of a sudden you're like, ooh, 75 cents. That's not bad.
That's a dollar movie night. Remember when they had those?
Oh my God. Yeah. But those theaters were always super sketchy, right?
Well, listen, when you're in college, you don't care.
We had a place in South Omaha. That theater opened kind of in the heyday of that area, so to speak. So it was probably in 80s. They did a bunch of work down there in the 80s, and that thing was open. And then the owner put zero into the movie theater over the years, and so each year it got a little worse. And by the 2000s, it was the dollar theater, and then they really didn't put any work into it. And so it just, there were like holes in the seats and seats kicked in, and we still went. I don't know why.
So some of the best theaters where we did the dollar theater night, and Saturday and so Friday and Saturday nights they did the Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Oh yeah. No, that had to be, that was so rough on a theater.
Yes, it was.
We had that. I remember as a kid having that. I never did go see it. I've never seen it in its entirety.
No, really? Okay, you've never seen it like on the regular screen?
Never gone to a screen.
We've never gone to the movie theater and experienced the whole.
Yeah, no, I've never done the experience.
Oh.
Yeah. No, I hear it's.
I say you got to do it, but at our age, no.
Not sure what you mean there, Jim. Is that must be from the? Is that a line?
At the background.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a whole thing that they do for virgins.
Oh, okay.
So if you've never been, they go at it pretty hard.
Okay, Jim, that line got censored by the chat by YouTube, and I had to approve it.
Ah,
So it must have known. Yeah, no, never saw it. Well, that theater eventually they just dozed it. They
yeah,
closed it and dozed it, and
yeah,
we saw the thing go through its whole life cycle just about.
yeah. When a theater has Rocky Horror as a main attraction, that's the next
That's
step
the
is death.
that's the end. That is the end. Well, yeah. So 75-cent beers. I got a bunch. I think I picked up to 12 cans of them. I mean, it's
Jeez,
450. Yeah, I mean, it's and they're the regular beers. It's just a
that's
good.
a that's not even a beer in a bar anymore.
I know. Oh no, for sure. Yeah, I went out the other day and had 2 beers, and it was like 9.50, and you're like,
Oh, that was still a deal.
"That's still not too bad." Yeah. But, because it was happy hour, so maybe
Oh,
that's
there you
why
go.
I was and well, and to be fair, one of them was a full size, the other one was just a taster, a little $2 taster, so probably one of them was $6 and the other was 3 or 2 or something like that. Yeah, I just tonight I was like, I could go out. Maybe I'll go get some wings. Sarah is out with some friends, and so I'm on my own. Sammy's working.
Oh,
I'm on
okay.
my own. It's like I could go get some wings and pay $20, or swing by Casey's and get a slice of pizza for 5. So
Hmm,
I got pizza, which
all
is
right.
Casey's is really. Do you guys have Casey's down there?
I have no idea what
No
Casey's
Casey's. It's a gas station. It's gigantic here in the Midwest.
is. It like a Bucky's?
Just like it.
Okay.
Just like it. Except I think they have the best gas station pizza in the nation. That's what I think.
Had my first visit
Yeah.
to a Bucky's last year
Hey.
in Oklahoma.
Yeah. Yeah. Tony Rayner says QT for the win. QT is up their game. You guys have Quick Trip down
Yeah,
there?
yeah, they're down here.
Yeah. Yeah. And they've really upped their food game.
Wawa is
Yep.
coming down here. They're coming in
Okay.
strong.
That's East Coast. That's an East Coast. They from a tech angle, Quick Trip has really upped their app game. So is Casey's, to be honest. And they're sending me deals all the time. Casey's got something weird going on with their app, and I just order pizza, and they just like the other day they just gave it to me for half price. It wasn't even like a special. I just was ordering the pizza, and when I went to check out, half price. And I'm like, oh yes,
Okay.
yes.
I've not had that joy with the apps. I've
Oh yeah.
I've been happy trying to order either online or with apps lately. I had we've got a lovely uh Chinese. I don't know what it is. It's one of the Asian.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
we order from it all the time, and it's one of those things where if I call from my home number, they say, "Wing Loon, may I help you?" And I give them the
Mhm.
number. I said, "Order for delivery," and they say, "What's your number?" I tell them the number. "Oh,
Mhm.
Mr. Marvin."
Yes.
So they had a app that they created, and so I wasn't at the house, and I said, "Well, let me order from the app because if I call from the cell phone, the number doesn't come up, and then they have to call to verify it's one of." So I order from the app. I get home and I'm waiting for like 40 minutes, and these people are usually quick, so I had to call, and apparently it didn't go through, and I was like, "Oh." So apps are frustrating.
Yes. Tony just tweeted that Quick Trip is his. Tony. Listen. I like QT and I like QT food, but Casey's Pizza. I haven't found any gas station pizza better, and I've had them all. So there you go.
I,
That's the definitive statement. Boom. Casey's Pizza for the win.
I, okay. I'm sorry. I have been one of those people where 7-Eleven was probably the only place where I would get food from
Yeah.
when it
Yeah.
had a
Yeah.
gas station.
Yeah. Yeah.
Never order food from the
Oh.
gas station. So
Oh.
of course, going to Bucky's
Yeah. Yeah.
and even the wife. So she's from Ohio and her family's in Georgia. They all love the Wawa. And
Mhm.
even when
Mhm.
it came here, there's one down the street. I'm like, why would I go to a gas station to order
Yeah.
food?
It's a whole different world in
It
gas
is.
station food. Like
nowadays.
They have all, I know they've all, you've got like Love's, which is a Midwest truck stop, and their food is, I mean, it's really good.
It's like food truck food now. I mean, it's pretty awesome
Well,
stuff.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, really good quality. You can order early on the app. They're offering more rewards points. I mean, there's all kinds of really good. There's good deals going. And like I said, I like QT. I've gone and I've had they'll make the pizzas for you. Casey's Pizza. You can order full size pizzas from them, and they're just outstanding. I mean,
Mm.
it's amazing pizza. Um, So Tony says he's going to St. Louis in 2 weeks. Buc-ee's will be in our future.
I tell you what, the wall of jerky. I could not believe it. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. The clothing section
Yeah.
was like a department store.
Yeah. What's different is they're all clean. They used
very
to
clean.
just be, just used to be awful. Right?
Really?
They used to be like Waffle House. You're like, oh. Now they're all new, right?
It's
There
the
just
go-to
must be
place.
money.
There
Yeah.
are lines to
Yeah.
get into Wawa.
Yeah.
That and all of the charging stations they have for the electric vehicles.
Yeah. Jim says in St. Louis, make sure you try Wally's.
Okay.
And I'm assuming there's a Buc-ee's in St. Louis, since that's where Tony's going. So yeah. All right, we better get started. Let me kick.
What's been all right? Talking about gas stations.
Gas station pizza. It's big business. big business. Like I remember, like 7-Eleven, and they'd have the hot dogs on the rollers, and some of those kinds. That was the extent of their food. They had good Slurpees and stuff like that. But man, gas station food in Germany on the Autobahn, the gas station, the petrol stations there, it's like a restaurant. I mean, it's great in Germany. You can stop in and have a beautiful meal. So KDJ says he's got a Buc-ee's there in the Houston area.
Okay.
Yeah. Jim says nope. And Mo only down near Springfield. Yeah. By the way, Tony, John pinged me earlier today, and I'm not sure, maybe it was you acting as him, because I think you guys are the same people, same person. But he pinged me earlier today. He's out in the middle of the country doing some things with his daughter. He said he wouldn't be able to make it.
Aren't you in the middle of the country?
I am, but he's a little farther west than I didn't necessarily want to say where he was, because he didn't give me that kind of permission. Okay. But just John, I just wanted to make sure. Okay, let me kick this thing off here. Hold on, let's get over here. All right. This is the Average Guy Network, and you have found Home Gadget Geeks, show number 578 with guest Marv Bee, recorded on July 20th, 2023. Here on Home Gadget Geeks, we cover all the favorite tech gadgets that find their way into your home. News, reviews, product updates, and conversation, all for the average tech guy. I'm your host, Jim Collison, broadcasting live from the AverageGuy.tv studios here in a warm, but not as warm as where Marv is at, Bellevue, Nebraska. And, of course, we post the show with world-class show notes out at the AverageGuy.tv. Big thanks to Aaron Lawrence, who joined us last week. There's some great reviews and some great links and some great stuff there. She always does a nice job. If you didn't get a chance to listen to it, I tagged on about 20 minutes worth of updates of my own after Aaron left. So if you missed that last week, maybe I said, with that, we'll say goodbye, everybody, and you turned it off. There's some more. I left some bonus content on there. I wanted to see if anybody caught up. Neil, thanks for your note. He said Aaron's is his favorite, and I know she's a lot of people's favorites. And so, Aaron, thanks for coming on. Always appreciate it. Big thanks to our Patreon subscribers. If you're finding value in the podcast and you want to give back, you can join the Patreon team. Do that over the AverageGuy.tv/Patreon. Marv, you've had Aaron on the show, your show before, right?
Well, yeah, she was on just actually a couple of weeks ago for the second time. I had her on I do a Thanksgiving show. Basically, pre-sales,
Black
Thanksgiving
Friday,
special, Black
pre-Black
Friday.
Friday.
And then I had her on, and we were trying to do something like a Christmas in July
Oh yeah.
sort of a thing, but it turned out to be right before Amazon Prime Day.
Okay.
So we went on live on
That's a
July
good
7th.
idea.
Yeah.
That's a good
So
idea.
she was on, and of course, tons of fans of Aaron watching the show.
Marv Bee, IT Business Podcast at itbusinesspodcast.com. Did I get all those right?
Yep, that was it.
Yes. Like it if you now are you still doing a second one? Are you thinking of doing a second one? What's the status of the second one?
So I'm actually going to be finalizing all of that this weekend.
Okay.
And we are going to be bringing back. So I don't know if I'm going to rename my other show or just simply start a new one. And the title that we're kind of leaning towards is Uncle Marv's Unhealthy Podcast.
Oh, I like that. I like it.
It's going to be basically a podcast about the fact that, listen, just about everything we do now in life is unhealthy.
Oh, for sure.
The way we eat, the way we're so full of stress and we overwork ourselves.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about all the things to fix our unhealthy lives. So I'm going to be talking to people, everything from, of course, food and fitness. We're going to talk to some mental health experts. We're going to talk about work-life balance. We're going to talk about anything that falls into that category. So it's not going to be just one specific thing, but everything that's unhealthy in our life. When
will you know if it's going to be its own thing or you're going to retitle?
We're going to figure all that out this weekend.
So
I'm going to do that. And then I've got a consulting call. I've got a private peer person that I'm going to meet with on Monday to finalize everything. Then I've actually got 4 guests lined up that are ready to go as soon as we launch.
Nice. Well, good luck with that. And whatever you do. Well, I mean, still go over and listen to the IT Business Podcast, right?
Yeah, that's still going to be the flagship.
Okay.
And then we'll do another show. We'll bring back my personal show that's actually going to be something along the lines of Uncle Marv's Hollaback Podcast. And it'll be just really me reuniting with friends, from high school, college, and just a hangout show.
If you think, for you personally, thinking about well-being and health and healthy things, if you think there's one gadget for you that makes life better for you, makes it easier, makes it more productive from a well-being standpoint, what do you think that is?
Gadget?
Yeah, gadget, technology, any of those kinds of things.
So it's weird because I've actually I'm still de-gadgetizing my life.
Why do I have you on the show if you're getting rid of gadgets? Aaron is adding them,
but so here's what I think is going to be happening. Yeah. So I've been doing a ton of YouTube binging and talking about ways that we can make food better. So of course I went on the air fryer kick a couple years ago. So we've got 2 air fryers at the house. I'm trying to talk the wife into another one that's a little larger one with the double doors, the French doors, where you can actually do multiple things at a time in there. And I want to simply redo everything we use in the kitchen. So I want to go back. At one time we tried to do the little soda gadget thing where you made your own soda.
Soda Stream.
Yeah, Soda Stream.
Yeah, Gavin loves those. That's Gavin's favorite.
Yeah. So I don't know if I'm going to go that route. So I want to do that. I want to do something with making better drinks, making better food. So that's probably where I will focus on, is in the kitchen first.
Yeah.
Although she probably wants to focus on the yard because she wants everything to look nice. So we have the electric mower. We have the electric, she should say cordless. So we've got on cordless for the
battery mower.
So the Ego mower, we've got the trimmer, the edger, a pole saw. All of that's the Ego and Ryobi stuff.
Yeah. I don't see how that contributes to your well-being, but okay.
Just my gadgets at the house. I mean, that's
that's good. That's good. Yeah, I was early in the electric mower. Black & Decker put one out that I bought, and it still ran off of like a battery you would put lead acid battery you would put in a lawnmower, like a regular gas one to
Right.
start it, right? And it had two. I think they ran them in series or parallel, one of the two.
Yeah.
And in that thing, I mean, it was okay, but I remember when I went to replace it, I'm like, these are just regular batteries. Now they've gotten a lot better. The battery technology's got
Oh
more
yeah.
powerful, last longer.
Yep.
Mine would last for 2 years. I could get a full cycle on the lawn for 2 years, and then I'd start losing.
Yeah.
And you'd be like, and if it was thick, game over. You were just kind of screwed. And it was one of those I could take out and put another one in. Like that was the problem.
Oh,
And it just
okay.
kind of turned me off. Yeah, it just for the lawnmower. And I love what Joe said. He says at the moment he lives like a possum. Live fast, eat trash. Oh, and then Jim says, "Live fast, eat trash." Sounds more like a raccoon than a possum. Does a possum ever do anything fast? I don't know. But they're scavengers for sure. But so yeah, I got kind of turned off by that early entry into the battery
Mm.
mower, and I never got back. I went and bought a gas, and I just haven't.
Oh,
Now it's struggling a little. I've had it for I don't know 6, 7
I tell
years.
you what. So we got an Ego when we bought the
Mm,
house, and that
yeah.
was actually 10 years ago,
Mm,
and it is still running. We're on our third battery, and the latest battery is the upgraded something called e-arc. So it almost doubled the life of the previous batteries, but still fits
yeah,
in there, and it runs fantastic.
yeah. Gas mowers are terrible. Like they're bad for the environment. They puke. I mean, they have nothing on them. They just belch out stuff, and they're just really bad.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, but I I'm having trouble getting rid of my gas
Well, if you need
mower.
power, gas is still the way to
Yeah,
go. I mean, the
yeah,
Egos are good. Now, the newer Egos, I've been looking at them. I've been waiting for ours to die. I'm thinking about 10 years, it should be done about
yeah.
now. And they're really the same price as they were. Still, you can get $400, $500 for a very good mower. So,
Well, and then we've talked about this on the show before. Do I go robot and for in most of the mowing, and then you just buy have a cheap mower around for the things it can't reach,
yeah,
or whatever.
we're not doing a robot. I don't know if we can with our yard because we've got too many trees, too many flower beds. We've got a pool in the backyard, and
Mhm.
that's really the only place we could use it because of a fence. There's no fence in the front yard.
I gotcha. Yeah, I think you can. The new mowers you can map. You don't need wires. The problem is you're spending $3,000 on them. That's the problem. Like it's 2 to 3 grand, and Tony says he doesn't think he changed the oil at all in his John Deere for 5 years. I kept meaning to do it. Yeah, those things will go a while. It's not like well, yeah, no, you should change them on a more regular basis. But
Yeah.
I think I went a couple years on my mower without doing it. And then finally like, all right, I gotta change oil on this thing. Well, sounds like I love the air fryer idea. There's that's something we just have not gotten into is an air fryer for some reason. I don't know why, but
Yeah,
they're
it
good
took
things
a
about
little time, and we the wife has gone through trying all the recipes, and we would do you can do all the regular stuff in there,
it.
but
Yeah. Yeah,
I've
yeah.
done steaks in the air fryer.
Oh yeah. Yeah, yeah.
That turned out pretty good, but, your typical wings and fries, vegetables you can do in there.
Yeah.
There's some bread concoction thingies you can do. So we're gonna try some more.
Yeah. No, it's a good we basically have done the same thing just with the oven on convection. We bake roast is probably the right word. We roast all our veggies in the oven, and it's probably a lot more energy than an air fryer,
Yeah.
a lot more space, but we've kind
So
of done it.
when Erin was on the show, did you guys talk about the smart grill?
Mm-mm. No,
Oh, she was
no.
she was uh she
She
was
talked about
loving. Yeah, so she got it's called the Weber Genesis Smart Grill.
okay. What do you remember about it?
Well, first of all, it's $1,300. Let's start with that. But it does all of the stuff that you would think that a regular, grill would do, but it comes with probes that will connect to an app
Oh yeah.
that will tell you when your food is done. Um, and what was the other stuff? I mean, it's just a nice little thing. It's got a very big cooking space. It's very sturdy and durable. That was one of the things she said, because the grills now, even the grills that are, $400 or $500 now, they're cheap.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, they've always been. They've looked good. Grills have always looked good
Yep.
on the purchase. And then if you don't cover them, if you leave, cause you leave them outside in a year or two, they're just trash,
Yep.
Now I bought a Sunbeam in 96. Yeah. 96 that I still have. And I've replaced all the guts, the burner 30 times.
Yeah, that's what I've done with ours. We've
Yeah.
replaced the guts a couple of times, and I'm thinking, do I really want to do that again? I mean, it wasn't
Right.
horrible. It's like $100
Yeah.
to do it, and then some time. And I'm just like, it's time for a new grill.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
The other option to think about, both although the solo pits don't do this as well, but there's a few of those new efficiency fire pits
right,
that have cooking attachments to them, a hot plate. I saw one and I forget the name of the grill, but it's got a really thick cast iron hot plate that goes around the top, and that thing heats up to 400 or 500 degrees, and you can, you've maybe more depending on the wood, but you can, it kind of brings back, I know there were some open fire pits, metal ones you could buy that tried to do this, right? They'd have a grate that would come down
right.
on it and attach to it, right? Whatever. But these efficiency fire pits, these smokeless, that's really what they are. These smokeless fire pits, they can get so hot, and you don't have all the smoke to deal with. It's not a bad cooking, a bad cooking surface to come off of. And so
Now, the solo stove, wasn't that the one? Didn't they do a grate on it, or was that just truly the pit only?
I don't know if they've got a thick, if they got a grate for theirs or not. They got so many things. They just bought another company too. They just merged with another company. But I think this is a space where, where if you've got one of those kinds of stoves, they get hot fast. They're fairly efficient. They burn hot. I mean, they really do burn hot. That's the whole premise of these things. So that'd be another option. You can fire them up pretty fast, cook on those. And I'd never cook on an open fire, like the open fire pits. Just was too much. It's just too hard to get going, and all the wood and the coals, and I just never liked that. But it gets a little more efficient with some of these new fire pits. And there's a bunch of them, right? You've got some options now. It's not just solo.
Well, I was trying to talk her into doing like an electric smokeless grill that we could just throw on the patio.
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking for her and I to grill, it's a chore to go out to the grill, propane, turn it all on. Even if you do, we've got it to where it's got the 5 different channels. So I only have to turn on a couple of burners if I want to. But I'm thinking, you know what? Just those electric griddles, or the smokeless grill, I should say, is what they are. Would work just fine, but of course it's electric, and she's like, I don't want electric.
Yeah. There's some really good. I mean, there's in the grill space. You talk about this Weber Genesis.
Yeah,
but Traeger and Pit Boss and some of those. There are some good. There's some great grilling options. You just pay for it. You just pay.
Yeah, I mean, I've looked the Traeger. I mean, that's more for, if you're going to be doing, barbecue and doing, pulled pork and
you grill on them. They're pretty good for the smaller ones, like the smaller Traegers, and even I have the Austin XL, the Pit Boss Austin XL. You can fire that up. I was surprised the other day. I was making beef jerky and I wanted to get the frog mats that I use. I wanted to get those heated up and kind of cleaned off at 400 degrees before we get going. So I used to put them on the grill to do that, and then I'd bring them over to the smoker. And this time I just turned the smoker up to 400, and I thought, oh, this will take a while. No, it heated up pretty fast, and I was like, oh, well, maybe I'll do it this way from here on out
So,
and
do
cool
you
it down.
have the Traeger with what is it called, the hopper thing on the side where you put the pellets and
You have a Pit Boss.
okay,
Mine's the Pit Boss brand, and it's got a 20-pound box on the side, yeah, for pellets.
all right. And are those just the wood pellets for the burning, or are they the flavored?
No, I do. They're flavored. Yeah,
Okay.
they do both, right? They provide the heat. If you turn it up, it just puts a bunch of them in the firebox. It turns the fan on, and that you get a pretty good flame.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. And the Pit Boss I bought, I watched Walmart for a deal. That to me, they're a good place to get those because they're the same everywhere. And I think I paid 300 something, which
Okay.
is not bad.
All right.
You
So
know,
I wonder if Jay's making fun of me if a propane grill is too hard to use. It's not that it's too hard to use. It's that it's a big grill.
yeah,
And for just me and the wife, it's usually one steak.
right.
And I'm thinking, I just don't want to fire up the grill. So I don't know if I should say this, but we have a George Foreman inside.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
No,
she has that. And I'm thinking, I want something just a little bit more than a George Foreman, but not a full grill.
yeah, yeah. No, right on. Yeah. Just look for something. I mean, they're making even in these smokers, they're making them. They make smaller versions where you can, if you want to use the smoking feature, you can just it's got a little switch on it, turn it to smoke, and it won't heat it up. And if you want to, if you want to turn that thing up to 450 and sear a steak, it'll just drop more pellets in,
Yeah.
for you. So not a bad way. I think George Foreman's great. We have one of those too. We don't use it very often, but Joe thinks they're great. And Brian Auer says, I find my propane hard to use because I do not want to stand in 110-degree heat.
Yep, that's the other
I
thing.
know. Mine's in the shade, and I like it there, and it works out pretty well. Well, hopefully we've made you hungry at this point. There's some in the fire pit space. There are some really good options now, and every time I have Mark Robson on, he tries to get me to buy a Weber, and I've been looking for like a gas briquette or charcoal combo, gas on
Right.
one side, yeah. And then every time I think about it, I'm like, nah, I'm just gonna keep what I got. I'm good.
Yeah.
So, Marv, you've been working on some Synology projects, putting in some Synology stuff. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah. I don't know if you remember, Jim, when you and I first started talking, that's what, 2 years ago now, where I wasn't doing, anything. And you tried to hook me on to the Unraid.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I tried that. And at the time, and I don't know if it does now, but I couldn't use it in a business because I needed Active Directory. I needed, some business stuff. So I went all in on the Synology.
Yeah.
So now this is how far I've come. I started with the little ones for the backups. I started them with file storage. I started doing some of my smaller clients with the virtual machines. So now I've got a client where I'm actually ordering. It's the SA3610. So it's a rack mount Synology. And we're ordering it with 192 gigs of RAM and all solid state drives. And I'm going to run 2 virtual remote desktop servers on it.
Say that again. Say that last part again.
I'm going to run 2 virtual remote desktop servers.
Oh,
so 2 virtual machines for remote servers for a client.
Yeah. Yeah. And what's the just business? That's just their business need.
Yeah, they've got 7 offices, and every time we purchase an HP server for them, it always ends up being, 20 grand for the
Right.
hardware.
Right.
With the HP stuff, loading it up and all of that 10 core processor. So I said, well, let me try this. And I can do one Synology for the, two servers on one Synology for the price of two HP servers.
Yeah. 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 Well, you think about it. I mean, Synology, we've been talking about Synology since the old days of the home server show. So it's been around a long time. They went from the home market. I mean, they really kind of began with these little boxes in the home space or in the small business space, adding 3 to 5 hard drives at a time, and have really grown into
Yeah.
the big backup space. What do you find most convenient about the Synology? Why do you keep going back to it? I mean, what's drawing
So
you?
right now, the one thing I will say, support has probably been the biggest bugaboo because the businesses are so used to that HP, you know, we do the 24/7 4-hour response. Okay, don't have that with Synology.
Right.
But with Synology, you get literally everything in a box. So from just simply whether you just want to do file storage, you want to do backup, the backup applications are free and built in. You want to do a synchronization or snapshot backup, that's built in. You want to do these apps with virtualization, that's built in. I am using the VMware, or not the VMware, but the VM Pro. So we're purchasing the Pro version of the license to get a little more beef out of it, but the free versions run just fine. What else are we doing with it? Oh, I did a Synology camera system for a client. So I just bought a
Yeah,
regular Synology.
yeah, they make really good. From what I hear, they make really good camera boxes.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah,
And they're a little more pricey than your typical, you know, NVR, DVR, whatever,
right.
but they're compatible with almost any camera.
Yeah, they've done a nice job there for sure.
And there's just so many apps that are available inside that it's almost like, well, why would you go anywhere else if you're now? I'm not going to say it's for every business, but for the rack mount systems, even the one that you're showing there, I mean, they're servers. They are real,
Yeah.
hardcore servers.
Yeah.
I ordered it with the 10G network cards, redundant fans and power supplies you see there, and still expandable storage.
What size drives did you order it with?
So this we're doing 3.84 terabytes,
Okay.
but we're doing it. So we're doing RAID 1. So I've got 2 for the Synology operating system, and that's where I'll run all of the apps. And then I've got 2 other RAID 1s, 3.84, that will run a virtual machine on each of those spindles.
Yeah. That's a good way to do it. It's a good way to do it. Yeah, it is a good, and I still think I bet a lot of the listeners, the Home Gadget Geeks listeners, still, there's I'm sure there's a few out there who still running Synology backups at home,
Yeah.
as a backup box. I've if you followed along here, I'm back to Unraid, trying it again. They just had a most recent upgrade, and CFS is there now, and I set it up on the trial, and I don't know, I'm 19 days or 18 days left on the trial, and I'm gonna pay the $60 to do it. I have 4.5 terabytes on there, and that's plenty for what I'm gonna do. But to your point, I mean, boy, an Unraid does a lot, but I think Synology does a lot easier.
Yeah, it does. They have really done a good job of making the apps super easy to use. I mean, literally, you just go to the app store, download it, and you don't really need instructions on how to do it.
Right.
Uh, even the stuff with I did a snapshot replication. So the one client that I just put in a file server in their main office, and they were using a Synology at, so that was in West Palm, and then they've got a Tampa office. Well, we put it in Tampa first because they ran out of space, and I convinced them, let me do a Synology there. So now on the East Coast in their West Palm office, they're now ready to upgrade that, and they're going to move that West Coast file system over to the Tampa file system over to West Palm. So when I put in the new Synology, I set up a snapshot replication. All that stuff came over to West Palm pretty quick. We're talking 6 terabytes of stuff. It only took a couple of days. All the permissions came over. I mean, it was just really slick, all built in. I didn't have to look for another app. I didn't have to do any special configurations. The Synology, you go to the one, hey, you want to replicate? Okay, where do you want to replicate? Oh, over there, click, go. It was good.
Do they recognize each other once you've made the connection between two? Are they pretty good about having awareness of the other one?
Yeah, I think all I had to do was put in the password to, give it the IP address and connect it, and it recognized, the file manager system, and it literally stuck it in the same situation as the other one.
You think most IT guys could do this? I mean, is it easy enough that they could? Yeah. I almost went that route again at one point. I was a big Drobo guy back in the day. Love the Drobo, drop dead simple. They too try to make this run for the business market. Never really got there. Lots of problems behind the scenes. They're gone now.
Yeah.
So I thought Synology. I got I partnered with these guys over at Moro Data, and man, they got a really good little cache server, so you keep 700 gig locally. It's a 1 terabyte box, but you keep 700 local, and the rest goes to the server of your choice for backup, wherever that is, cloud, right? Type deal. So, I bought some Backblaze B2, super cheap to put it up there, way more expensive to get it back. That may come to bite me here, because that Moro data box goes down. I mean, it's not old, but I've had it now, I don't know, 6 years, maybe 5-6 years. I have to go back and look and see when I interviewed those guys on the show, but I've had it a while. Eventually it's going to fail. Okay. So I build an Unraid box, or in your case, say I buy a Synology. You're in this business, so I'll ask you this question. I'll see what your opinion is on this. What do I sync? Like, do I continue? I've always had files. Some of the files I'm using here, but most of them live in the cloud in the B2 instance. When I set up the next server, do I pull everything back, or do I just replicate over? The Unraid, or Synology in this case, doesn't do that same keep some cache, put the rest up, in B2. It's going to sync between the two. Do I pull everything back so I have a complete set of data, or do I just continue to leave what's in B2 there? And if I need it, go get it. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
I would say if you don't use that stuff on a regular basis, and when I say regular basis, 6 months, a year, then leave it there and go get it when you need it. Only sync stuff that you're actively using.
I thought at one point, I'm like, well, I'll get all that data back. And then, as I'm talking to you, I'm like, why? And actually I went, as I was doing some stuff this weekend, it's funny how time and data, has a way of, like, I had some audio files from podcasts that I did, let's say 8 years ago, that were a big deal like 4 years ago. But today you kind of like, I don't care if they go away. In fact, maybe I want them to go away, kind of deal.
Yeah, I'm looking at, so from the standpoint I look at, one of the things that has sold me on Synology is the fact that you can upgrade to a box seamlessly. Where when it's time to upgrade, you just tell it, hey, we want to move all this stuff over to this box, and you can keep all your settings. And so in the scenario that you're thinking about, the stuff that lives in the B2, Synology, if you do a whatever hyper backup, I can choose Wasabi, I can choose Synology C2. I just leave that there, and when the sync comes over, it proceeds as normal.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you do that with your Unraid, or is your B2 stuff completely separate?
Well, I think what I would do, just to be honest, is have a cutoff date, migrate maybe a year's worth of data from, or maybe just migrate the data that's not currently in cache, that's not right, that's actually physically there. Get that on the because that's probably data that's a year old. Let's
Okay.
just say it could be more, could be less, and migrate that over, and then reset the B2 back up to say, okay, make sure this is there. And then every year, unless I'm sure maybe Unraid's got some services that would help me with this, but it would just keep moving. Maybe it moves a year's worth of data at the end of the year or whatever to B2 and deletes it locally. You don't need it. You don't need to be. I mean, and what the cache drive has taught me for the most part is most of that data. I mean, it's podcast stuff. I never, I thought I might, but I've never gone back and been like, oh, I need that podcast from,
Yeah. So here's the thing. What are you going to do? Go back and clean up an audio from 4 years ago?
right, right. No, right. But in the early days of podcasting, I thought maybe I would, and you never do. Like I've never had a situation where I've wanted to go back. Now, I do want to hold on to. I mean, I do want to hold on to them, and storing them in a B2 backup is cheap. I mean, I think I probably have 3.5 terabytes, maybe 4 now on B2. It's like $12 a month. So super cold storage, very reasonable from a pricing standpoint. For $12 a month, maybe you don't nuke it all. You hold on to some of it or hold on to most of it, right?
Yeah.
Jim Shoemaker says B2 for me is select the highest value stuff like photos, but not DVD rips. Yeah, I wouldn't move DVD rips to B2 either. Worst case, you could rip them again. I agree with that. Jim's running a QNAP. That's another. QNAP is another box that a lot of guys want. Brian has QNAP and ESX in his house. Joe says Jim was always that Drobo guy. Yeah, I was. I love the Drobo. I love the Drobo. Yeah, well, so I've got a little bit, Marv, of some decisions to make. If I, it's not currently broken. Like, so do I want to set up, here's the thought, like, do I want to be proactive and set up a sync between the Moro data box and the Unraid server for now that keeps that data current, right? And then the Moro data box continues to have the B2 relationship to back up.
Right. So here's the question, Jim.
Yeah.
Because it sounds like your question really is, are you doing this because you need to or because you want to? Is it do you just you got an itching for a project? Is that what it is? Because that's what it feels like.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of I do a lot of that. Let's just be really, I need things to talk about for this podcast.
So I do a project for the show. Yeah.
I invent some projects. No, it is I mean, from a podcaster standpoint, is a need. Like, and I'm finding, it's always better for me if I get out ahead of these problems before they become problems.
Well, that's always the best way to go about it.
So I'm just trying to be smart about it. I'd had this box when I set up when I bought this new gaming rig or new production box, whatever it was going to be here. Put a bunch of RAM in it, new hard drives, Ryzen 5. I mean, it's a nice box. It'll do a lot. The intention was to move a lot of the services off the old studio PC, turn that into an Unraid box. I just never did it. I mean, I was supposed to do that back in December. I had plans to do it. There's files from December.
So what's the new box doing?
So, what's the new box doing now? Well, I moved. I'm playing games on it. I watch YouTube videos.
Okay.
No, I have a Windows VM instance set up on it that I use from time to time. I've got it does. I'm gonna at some point. I've got some crypto stuff that I want to move over to it. So the thing is it's big and it's available. I
Okay.
can do anything on it, right? It's one of those. It's the place where the new stuff lands. But the older box I'd always intended to go Unraid on, and I just never did. I mean, in fact, I went back and looked at some of the downloads from December, and I'd started. I just didn't finish. Well, we got it finished. So it's just gotten me thinking, okay, I should be smart about this because I've lost some data before. And I should be smart about this and set it up in my own time so it makes sense. And then at some point, like I said, at some point that box is gonna stop, or I'm not gonna buy it again. So it probably makes sense to have a good migration plan.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. Get off my back, Marv. No, just kidding. Just kidding. Just kidding. Well, no, it's helpful to think through. I've got to, yeah, it's helpful to think through, talk about it, get some things figured out. Because you got to do that. Like, you got to do that with your customers all the time, right? Ask those questions like, hey, how important is this to you, really?
And it's always an inconvenient time for them, when you ask the question. I don't want to deal with that now.
For sure.
But when it's needed, whoa, you should have been thinking about this.
Right.
Like I was. I tried to ask you, when it was slow and you didn't need it.
Right.
And it's one of those things you got to stay on top of it. And for the clients, actually, it's even more imperative now to be thinking for them and doing stuff, even if they're not ready. Just figure out a way. And that's why. So a lot of times I don't tell my customers how we're doing stuff, but just that we're doing it. So that way, if I need to change the process, I can do it, and they don't know that I've gone through all the changes. So the best example is backup service. So we started probably about 3 years ago where we're going to bill you for backup, and we'll take care of the appliance. You'll know where your stuff is and you can see it. And some of them I'll actually show how they can go in and grab stuff if they need to. But when it comes time to replace the appliance, that's not something that we have to go to them and ask and talk about, hey, it's going to cost. That's part of the price.
Yeah.
Every, 3 to 4 years, we're going to replace that appliance because your backup is that important.
Right. Yeah. Do you from a data retention strategy, have you found like, I can go back to some personal drives and find files from when I first started, and
no.
Do you have any kind of data retention?
Our data retention for most clients is 1 year.
Okay.
And that's, really all that they need.
From file creation or the last time it was updated or?
Last time it was updated.
Okay. Yeah.
Now, in theory, most of those clients actually have data longer because we're not taking their old data off because we've got more room for storage. So a lot of them will have data from 10 years still on their server, but the backup, if we had to go and literally grab it from backup, the retention is only 1 year.
Right. Yeah, that's 1 year short.
It is. It is. But to do 1 year retention for businesses on a, truly reliable basis gets expensive.
Yeah.
Especially for servers. So one of the services that we're using is Datto. And Datto is the premium backup service. So just to give you an example, we've got a box at a client that is a 12 terabyte box. And my cost is $898 per month to back up that appliance with 1 year retention. Now I can back up as many things as I want to that box, and right now it's only backing up 3 servers. We're doing a file, an image backup to that. We can actually run the image from that box if the physical server fails, so the client can still be up and running, and then that image backup is kept, for 1 year in the cloud. And We can run it in the cloud if we had to, although it would just be a pain in the butt, but we could.
Right.
So that's so I'm only charging them like $1,100
Yeah.
per month though.
Right. Yeah.
Now with Synology, I could do that for half the cost.
Yeah. And that's the pitch, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Is there a different service level agreement though at that point if you're going down to a Synology?
So I haven't really done that yet.
Okay.
We're getting ready to. And one of the reasons I'm putting this box in is I want to test some things before I present that to the other client.
Right.
And I want to see, because I already know that I can do the image backup and I can do a restore. I don't think I can run it from the cloud.
Right.
So obviously I'm going to have to take that off the table. But to be honest, that was never a consideration for them anyway. Their big thing is if our server crashes, how quickly can you get us back up?
Mm-hmm.
So if I can get them back up with an image from the Synology box in under an hour, that'll be enough.
Does that depend on what goes wrong with the physical box? Like, could you really do it in under an hour? Are there certain scenarios where we got to order this part?
Well, here's the thing. So the physical server itself wouldn't be backed up in an hour. What we would try to do is get the virtual machine running in under an hour.
Okay.
While we repair the physical server.
Right. Okay. So access to the data looking like it's up and running.
Correct.
Right.
And they may have to run slow for a little bit because the Synology box is not going to be as powerful as the physical server, but they will know that. And for the most part, as long as they can work, they can live with it for a day or two.
Oh, this 3610 has got an Intel Xeon 12 core in it. Yeah. So it's no slouch, right?
Yeah. But that's going to be running just the virtual servers on them. So to be honest, I could take that image and throw it anywhere and have it back up and running in a few minutes.
Yeah. Are you doing for our clients still requesting like individual PC backups?
Some are.
In what's the scenario there where it makes sense?
Most of it is going to be like your HR manager, your accounting department, where they're keeping personal files or financial stuff, and they want to keep it local somewhere. Somebody that's doing employee reviews, keeping that information local in their PC. So we back that up instead of throwing it on the server.
Doesn't like OneDrive fix some of that though, where it's local and
we have certain clients where we can't do that because it opens up the door of the end user being able to take that data and disappear with it. Although there are controls you can put on OneDrive, they're just cumbersome.
Right. Yeah. Well, it's that balance, right? Convenience, security. It's that balance between the two. That goes on. Yeah. Well, it just gets me thinking, every time I go into my personal directory and I look at those files from, like 2010, and I'm like, I should delete all of these. And then I select them and this is the hard part. Like, I just can't, it's hard. Like, and it's not like I'm ever going to use them. I haven't used them since, I made them back then.
Right.
But you're like, well, maybe someday I'll want to look through. It's the same thing when my mom passed away. She had kept and hidden from us. We never knew. She had boxes and boxes and boxes and boxes of photos that we'd never seen. And we're like, Mom, we would have loved to have shared these with you while you were still here, right? But in the end, so we're going through them. Oh, these are great. We're kind of going through them. So I'm glad she saved them. But then at the end of the night, we're like, okay, who's taking these home?
Yeah. Now that we've seen them, we're good.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was like, should we just burn them or like, do we need to? My brother's like, no, I'm going to go shred them. And I'm like, really? You're going to shred all these? Yeah, I don't want anybody to find them. And I'm like, okay. Like
Wow.
if you want to shred them, yeah.
I well, it depends. I would say digitize them, but even then, you're like, okay, do you want to spend that money to do
Yeah.
that?
Yeah.
And you know, maybe take five, the top five, and keep those.
Yeah. See, I kind of wonder if that only works like when nostalgia only works when it's an accident. Like only when you find that box that never was intended to be kept, but
Right.
it was. It was hidden away in a corner. You never saw it. It was never there. You pull it out. Oh, how quaint, right? But if you actually intended to do it, if you had saved the box, stored it, labeled it, some of those kinds of things,
Yeah.
nobody'd ever look at it again.
So I'm sorry. I told you I've been binging YouTube.
Yeah.
So every now and then I got to take a break from the unhealthy stuff, and I just throw on some comedians.
Yeah.
And there were a couple of comedians that I can't believe they actually were talking about the same thing, talking about remember the days of cameras when you literally had to think about whether you wanted to take that picture or not
Right.
because
Right.
you only had 24
Right.
to take.
Right.
And it wasn't like you could see right then and there if
Yeah.
it was good.
Nope.
And then you had to take it to be developed and wait. And
Yeah.
now we're at the point where we have so many pictures on our phones.
Oh, I know. I know. Well, Tony says he says I've got a bunch of slides still in a carousel from my wife's grandmother when she died at 95, probably at least 40 or 50 years old, right? And listen, I looked into there's all kinds of services now that'll you can send it to. In fact, one of them I just ran this deal. Man, don't give them your phone number because I get a text from these guys every single day. Like, Jim, we
Mm,
got a deal for you. Solo Stove is the same way. Do not give them your phone number. They will text you a deal every day. But $400 unlimited. Like it was kind of like, hey, we're doing yeah, you can just send us stuff and
wow.
I don't know all the details. But it was that like there's but so you digitize this is my fear because I thought of this too. You know, we'll send them off and digitize them. And then that just becomes digital trash
Yeah.
like for someone else. And it kind of got me thinking, you know, like how long are these pictures really meaningful? Because we were seeing some pictures that were like from before my dad was born. We didn't know any of those people. We're like, oh, how cool. I think that oh, how cool moment only works when it's an accident. Like if you save it and you got it in an album and somebody's going through the album or, you know, or they're going through a digital, you get one of those digital picture frames and they're like, oh, what's that? You're like, I don't know. I mean, it could just be a stranger's picture,
Yeah.
right? And it doesn't take long. I mean, maybe 60 years, right? Maybe 70.
Well,
And all of a sudden you don't know people anymore.
so here's the thing. So my wife has been watching, I don't even know the name of the show, but it's the show where the celebrities go and meet the guy that tells them about their
Yeah.
ancestors.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That's the only thing I could think of is that in
I
100
know.
years,
Yeah.
somebody can look up and who's this Uncle Marv guy?
Yeah, well, and they may not even care. Like it's a
They won't.
long shot that you were famous enough that they even care. Otherwise,
Yeah,
you
but I've already got it written in my will that my YouTube stuff comes down.
know.
My social media presence will be deleted.
Delete everything. Delete everything. Jim Shoemaker says shredding is the answer. If someone can't stand that, then they're the ones to take them home. Digitizing is not that expensive. Yeah, you can get it done that way. Tony says took apart my mom's photo albums, the ones with the clingy pages to scan. Oh my gosh.
Oh,
Like
that's
in it.
that was the worst. We did that
Oh.
to protect them, but yet we'd ruin them if we took the clingy stuff off.
But yeah, you peel the thing and it just takes all of the photo off along with it. You might as well just use the clingy stuff to make the replication
Yeah.
of the picture and because it's just torn off all the it's torn. Yeah, well, we've got, you know, we have these albums from the kids So let's say my oldest is 34. So let's say they're 30 years old, and at some point we may give them to him, but you know, 30, 50 years from there. So maybe it's 80 to 100 years. 50 years from there, like there may be pictures of us, his kids. They don't, oh, that's great grandpa Jim. And everybody's like, who cares? Yeah. So, but then you get digital versions of all these things, right? And it's even worse because who's going to sit down and go through these things? And they're taking up storage space somewhere.
The
Right?
only time it made sense. So my stepson got married 3 years ago, and we went through all the trouble of everybody gathering pictures of him and his wife, and I spent hours putting together this DVD video to music, and I did her life before they met, his life before they met, and then, when they met and the engagement and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And we made, I don't know, 50 copies of it, and we found one in the trash.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. By the way, my wife did that for my son's graduation. That's the file I lost.
Oh, really?
She was so pissed at me.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was in a bad backup. It's one of those things. It's really, yeah. You kind of like,
Okay, so that's what. So
Anyway.
now I can see why you're thinking about that.
Yeah. I have some scars, but I guess the point is, yeah. I mean, we've got, and now I have, I got pictures spread across Amazon and Google and OneDrive and all over the place. And do I say to my kids, at some point now, do I have to offload these digital files to my kids and say,
you can consolidate all of that on Synology Photos.
Exactly. No, they have a pretty good service. It's actually a really good. Drobo had one. QNAP has one too, where you can, and all the, both Google and Microsoft has in their app, they say, hey, do you want to sync your photos from your phone to our service, right?
Yep.
The question just though becomes, at what point, like, so Tony's saying this. He says our kids said they don't want my my terabytes of photos, right? They don't want them. And it's super short-sighted because someday they will. This is the hard part.
Right.
Like in the moment, it's like I had a when I grew up, when I was in high school, I had a Timex Sinclair 1000 memory, membrane keyboard computer. So this is 84. I mean, they were super cool for 84, and you had to do your own programming and whatever. And I sat in a box for a while, and at one point I was like, okay, this is stupid. Why am I dragging this around from house to house to house? And I got rid of it. But 10 years later, I started podcasting on Home Gadget Geeks, and I thought, that'd be really cool to have that thing, right? There's this window on this kind of stuff. And for the kids, it's when they're teenagers and maybe young adults where they don't care at all. And then all of a sudden they do care. And so you almost got to hide it from them, keep it hidden somewhere, and don't throw it away when you're tempted to. This is the hard part of this is, don't throw it away so that you can surprise them with it when they're 35 or you've passed away and they're at the funeral looking at pictures.
Right? Yeah. There needs to be like a guardian of the history for the family. That one person that is designated to keep the stuff. And when they do get to that point where they want to ask, oh, do you have? Yes, I do.
Yeah. Well, that's what you need AI for, right? That maybe this is the AI usage is you can feed all your pictures to AI and forget about it. And then you can go to the robot and say, hey, I want a picture of my dad, from this era. Can you just bring that back for me? And if it can, it'll just make it up.
Okay. That'll be Star Trek. Go back and look at the historical records.
Yeah, well, no, I don't know what the answer is, right? I mean, You
'Cause that'll
you
be the thing is, here's the thing. So we know that Google and all of these companies are collecting stuff on us. So why
Mhm.
not give them that
Yeah,
information
yeah, yeah, yeah.
so that somebody can just be like, hey, Google, do you have a picture of Jim Collison from
Right.
2013? Boom, there it is.
Yeah. Well, yeah, yes. Yeah. I don't know if it's that easy, but the the only caveat to that is like you would think, Amazon stopped doing photos,
Right.
right? So if you had loaded those in, and at some point in time you're thinking, I mean, Google's going to purge too at some point. I mean, they're going to be like, well, I know we've said, think of Internet Archives, right? At archive.org. They're like, oh yeah, we're going to keep all of the world's, you know,
Every
data
iteration of your website.
until we can't, right? Until they start looking at the numbers and they're like, yeah, this doesn't make any sense. Let's delete a couple years in there, and they're the years you want, you know. Um, yeah, it's a problem. But it's not just a digital problem. I think it's also an analog problem. And you think, I've just got I've got a box up here of some final. I have some 8 millimeter film and some slides, and my my brothers gave them to me. Said, "Can you get this digitized?"
Oh
And
my goodness.
I was like, "Yeah." And it's still sitting there. I think I'm gonna wait for them to ask a couple times, and then it may burn down in a mysterious fire.
Yeah, you got some beta tapes up there.
Yeah,
Some
you know what? The only thing I don't have are VHS tapes
no
anymore.
VHS, really?
No, we didn't. We were too poor to have a VHS camera, so we don't have any of those. They're all. I mean, we had movies and stuff, but they're all gone at this point. We went DVD and chucked all that stuff. The commercial stuff. We never made anything on VHS family wise.
Hmm.
Never had any of those, so don't have to worry about that.
I have to ask my
Yeah.
mom. She had all of our music growing up was on reel to reel tape.
Oh, yeah, yeah. And that stuff degrades,
Yeah.
you know. Um, Tony says, he says, just like I scan nearly every document and receipt, but Evernote is looking a little shaky lately. And some of these that's their only copy. Yeah. Yeah. I kind of, we have this saying here at the Collison house to when we're doing something, when we're experiencing something, we say Walter Midiot, which means live in the moment. Like don't be so quick just to pull out your phone and start taking pictures of it and miss the moment by taking pictures. Like obs- keep your eyes open, absorb the moment for what it is. Live in it because I don't think anybody else really cares about that moment but you. And yeah, you can take it and put it on Facebook and you get a few likes, but it goes away pretty fast. And but if you didn't live in the moment, you definitely won't remember it. It was just
Yep.
one of those things we're trying to practice a little bit more of is like just be present. Because a hundred years from now, nobody cares, literally, unless you're no, it's still nobody cares. You know,
Oh, like Ferris Bueller said,
life
life
is
moves
short.
pretty fast. If you don't
Yeah,
stop around and look once in a while, you could miss it.
yeah, yeah. No, yeah, it is. It is. I spend so much time trying to save all this stuff, and you kind of just to bring it full circle. You kind of go, why? You know, is it really that important? Maybe I should be spending that time. I'm trying to do all these backups with hanging out with the kids or the grandkids, from that standpoint, enjoying the moment, so
Yeah.
to speak. Marv, anything from a future standpoint? I was going to talk a little bit about Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, but you're not into cars.
I'm not. I just decided I'm going to keep my Jeep for another couple of years. I was
Yeah.
starting to look at some
What
of
do
the
you
new
what do you
vehicles.
have? What kind of Jeep do you have?
I have a 2012
Oh,
Jeep
okay.
Grand Cherokee.
Okay. So
It's
10,
only
10 years old.
it's only got like 115,000 miles. And my mechanic says that thing will run for much longer than you want it to. And the interior is still good. I ordered a couple of car seat covers but everything else is good, the mechanical. So I'm like, you know what?
Yeah.
Why
Yeah.
am I going to go spend 60 grand
Right.
on a new car or
Yeah.
40 grand on a used right now? And I'll just ride this out. So
Yeah.
it's got what I need. I've got Bluetooth. I can connect my phone to it. So I'm good.
What do you use? What do you use for your Bluetooth? Yeah, like a Bluetooth receiver that you've
Eh,
plugged in. Does it have an aux?
no,
Oh.
it's got aux, but it's got a connect me thing built in. So
Oh.
it's kind of like CarPlay,
Okay.
but it's built in. I just
Yeah.
whenever I get in the car, it just automatically connects through
Yeah.
Bluetooth.
Yeah. I would, on new cars, I might just keep an eye on what's going on the market. I just got an email from Subaru, and they were like, "Hey, I have a 2021 Legacy that I bought back in May of 2021," and they're like, "Hey, the new 2024's not as expensive as I thought." Like, they're trying to upsell me. Bring the 21 in. We'll make you a sweet trade
Right.
and upgrade you. I'm not going to do it, but yeah, I had seen a price last year, and this price was significantly less than last year's price. And I just kind of thought, I wonder if there's some cracks appearing in the new car. How long can we sustain this craziness? And at what point do people say, and I know this point is when we start paying student loans back, but at what point do we stop the madness on some of this stuff? And I think you're smart to hold on to what you
The
got.
madness of everything. Although Biden is
Yeah.
gonna, 800 grand, 800,000 people are gonna, get their
Maybe.
loans released.
Maybe. I don't know. I was so torn on that because I'm both I want to be fiscally responsible, but I also want $20,000 is a lot of money, and you're kind of like, well, so anyways, it was not to get I've never been political on the show. We won't start today. But it is it'll be interesting to see. The article that I was gonna discuss with you on this basically said that JD Powers, the ratings, the first time in 28 years that the satisfaction over in-car entertainment systems or
Okay.
nav systems is going the other way. Like, it's been a constant up of satisfaction, but people over the last 2 years are getting more and more disgruntled with their
Okay.
in dash nav.
Did they talk about why that is? Because part of me is
Yeah.
thinking that people are probably moving back away from technology, having too much technology in their vehicles, is what I would see.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, because obviously things like navigation and being able to connect your phone, those are the two things that we want, but everything else is probably superfluous. Or are people being too demanding of their in auto entertainment?
Yeah, I think I went from no entertainment. I had an '06 Honda Civic that I drove for a lot of years, and to this 2021 Legacy that's trying to keep up with Tesla, right? It's got this big 17-inch,
Yeah.
goes this way and goes portrait, not horizontal, landscape. But it like on mine, they took away the physical, and this is Arkle talks about this. They took away the physical for the HVAC system for the temperature in there. It's digital now. It's
Yeah.
not. Yeah, yeah. And at first I thought, oh, that's kind of cool. Not cool. It's not cool.
Mm.
You literally, it's not cool. Like you get in the car, you turn it on, and they underpowered this nav system. Like, I love my Subaru, but they severely underpowered the nav system, the chips that run it severely, and maybe a little bit because of the chip shortage, but whatever. And so that thing boots up, and then it struggles to get to. Jim Shoemaker and I have been talking about this via email, and they've done some updates. It's made it a little better, but it's still not great. And that, so like, if you want to change the air right away, you're pushing those buttons, which when you're starting up the car and it's super hot in there and you're trying to get the air conditioner on, doesn't really work very well, right? I wanted physical. I would have sacrificed to have physical buttons for for that kind of stuff.
So I was thinking about this before I started looking around for the Jeep, and my thought is they're trying to put too much
Yeah.
stuff that works with computers in their car. And I'm like, not everything has to be computerized.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, yeah, do I want to have, individual controls? Yeah, but that doesn't have to be based in the computer.
Right.
And my thought is right now, people are complaining about how many times you have to update your freaking computer
Yeah.
and your phone. If
Yeah.
you have to do that for your car all the
Yeah.
time,
Yep.
that's what I'm like, I don't want to
Yeah.
have to get my car updated every month.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think that's what's happening, what you're talking about. That's what's happening. I mean, it's mainstream enough now that I think most people are getting a vehicle, and there's been a lot of new cars purchased over the last 5 or 6 years, right? And so I think the average guy is out there going, I where is, and it is, the menu systems are incredible in this stuff. Now, it does some super cool things. Like it can tell me the incline I'm on. Okay, I get it why that's cool, but
Yeah.
do I really need to know why?
I think all I would need right now is a place to just simply dock my phone.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
dock my phone.
Yeah.
I can
Yeah.
do my maps there. I can do my music there. If I want to do any other apps with the vehicle, I can do it if I want. But
Yeah.
that's all we
Yeah.
need.
Yeah. It does, the phone part does pretty well all by itself if it's just there. That actually, you're right in a lot of ways. The apps, the ways, all that stuff I could do just off my phone on there. So yeah, no, I just found that interesting. A little bit of a backup. Yeah, Jim says his 2019 Subaru Forester has a great selection of physical buttons, which I appreciate. Yeah, we have a 16 Outback, and then I have the 2021 Legacy, and in between, like Sarah still has the buttons that I want. Her screen is smaller, right? And so it's, you kind of go, and that,
Now, is the Legacy the more SUV looking of the
it's the
Subarus?
sedan. It's the
Oh, it's
sedan.
okay.
It's the
All right.
sedan of the Subaru line. Yeah,
'Cause I just saw a Subaru and it looked like a regular SUV,
yeah,
whereas the Outback and the others, they look like a small, oversized station wagon.
yeah, yeah. Outback for sure, big, and it's bigger now. But then they have one Ascent or something like that. That's their big SUV. But yeah, well, it was, I think, interesting. I think we'll wrap it on that. It is. It's interesting just to see the dissatisfaction in that, going backwards for the first time. We've
Right.
had 28 years of it getting better and better, better in the last couple of years. The first 2 years, it's backed up on it, and
Mm.
um, it'll be interesting to see where we go with that. And they're, for the most part, they've been very unupgradable. What you buy is what you get. You can't change it. You can't. I mean, you get some upgrades.
So
Tesla's different. I mean,
so the
Tesla does a
Apple
lot of.
version of the cars is what
Yeah,
you get.
exactly. What you buy is what you get in a lot of cases. What it supports, and the various manufacturers support different, different things with it. So at different times and in different places, they go out of date pretty fast.
Yeah.
Really fast on some of those. And it's not like you can just buy a new unit and plug it in. If you want to upgrade. So be interesting to see where all that lands. Well, Marv, thanks for saying yes. Thanks for having an opening. Thanks for just chilling out with me tonight. I kind of needed a night just to kind of complain about backups. Help me get my backup scheme figured out. I appreciate it. Thanks for coming on.
All right.
What's well, I guess the big news we'll know on Monday what you're gonna do, right? With how will we know what you're gonna do with the next podcast?
You know what? That I haven't figured out yet. So obviously I'll have to talk with some people about doing a blast for the launch. And I'll let you know.
Okay. We'll have you back on when you figure it out. We'll have you back on in a month or two or whatever, and you can update us on. Do you think you're talking about kind of doing a lifestyle podcast, right?
Yeah, it's yeah.
Right. Like be healthier. Some of the what do you like?
So
what do you hope?
the tagline is going to be live healthy, be happy.
Okay. And what are you hoping for? Like, what's success for you on that?
So to be
Side of that?
honest,
Yeah.
it's going to be a combination of my journey to happiness and health, along with people that I've met and experts that I meet on all these things to literally live a truly balanced life. You know, listen, you and I, we talked about before the show our age, we're at a time where, maybe it's time to slow down a little. Do I have to grind so much?
Right. Right.
And, I stopped playing ball about 10 years ago. And at the time I stopped, I'm like, I'm done. I have spent my entire life being healthy and exercising and in shape. And I'm just, what it is what it is. Well, now here I am like, you know what? I'm not quite happy with what it is.
Oh, I'm with you. Yeah, 3 years of COVID, and I'm like, oh, it's not. I mean, it's recoverable, right? But
Yeah.
there's a few spots where I'm kind of like, oh, that's not. And I too told myself I'm not going to care, but I do.
Yeah.
you know,
You do.
you get there and you're like,
And
oh,
so I've
yeah,
just been
yeah,
kind of poking around and looking, hey, what is it that I want to do?
yeah,
And do I want to go back to all the stuff I did before? No, I don't want to go to the gym. I don't want to work out, but I can eat healthier, I can walk.
yeah, yeah,
And as I was doing my studies, I guess you would call it, of, what's out there that people are saying. And, there's a lot of people talking high level, all of this stuff, and oh, you're this hormone and that hormone. I'm like, look, I just need to be able to talk to people, who
yeah,
are like me and just give it to me straight. I don't need all that scientific. Now I want to know that it's there. I don't want somebody to just be making up crap. So that's where it came from. How can I live healthier and how can I be happy? How
yeah.
can
Well, and I'm not sure healthy and happy are um, are good bedfellows. I think you get one or the other in some cases, often, or a combination. I think I mean, certainly being healthy is being happy, but then we want to do these things that, I mean, we like, they're not particularly healthy, but we
right?
like doing them. They make us happy, right?
Yeah.
And it's a battle. I mean, it's always a battle to figure. It's endless. We're always thinking about. We're always thinking about this and talking about it. Even in my running years, when I was in some of the best shape of my life, I think this idea of balance is almost impossible.
It probably is,
Yeah,
but right now I'm at the point where
yeah,
I'm like, let me at least investigate. Let
yeah,
me
yeah,
see
yeah, yeah,
if it's, maybe not necessarily 100%, but can I get to 80?
yeah, yeah.
Can I
Well,
get
right
to
on,
80?
right on.
Can I be a little healthier? Can I be a little happier and have a better
Yeah,
quality of life? That's really what it is.
I see, I have a personality that I start going down that rabbit hole, and then I just get obsessed and obsessive about the healthy side of things, and then you start doing. I started running, and then I ran farther, and I ran even farther, and then I started doing crazy things, and you're like, and it wasn't bad. I had fun. I had fun doing it. I just was it. I don't know. Was it
Yeah.
balance? Was it balance? I don't know.
And
It's a
that's
good question.
why one of the things I'm going to do is there's not going to be a singular focus.
Yeah.
I'm not
Yeah.
going to be like, you got
Smart.
to get on the keto diet. That's no,
Smart.
I'm going to
Smart.
talk to everybody out there because, first of all, we are all different. What
Yeah.
works for you may not work for me. What
Right.
works for me. And so let's just talk. And hopefully, what I think what I may want to do is try to create this community of people that are just simply encouraging each other and helping each other and not necessarily judging and
Yeah.
dictating what we have to do,
Yeah.
you know.
Yep. Yep. We have a good community here that does that. I think the folks that surround Home Gadget Geeks, I think, are nice that way. They have their own opinions on things. Everybody does, but it's not a judge. We get very little judgment on those kinds of things, which I appreciate. I think the word I'm changing to from balance is moderation.
Okay.
Is for me, again, for me, it's like, do all things in moderation. And that includes the healthy things, because there's times you need to have that chocolate brownie.
Yeah.
Or that chocolate muffin at work that's just staring at you. The other day, Wednesdays are um, uh, uh, gravy, biscuits and gravy in the dining room, and I just can't say no. But they don't do it every day, right? So one of those things, you kind of go. And Brian does make an exception. They do judge pizza choices, so if you're certain kinds of pizzas, yes, they do. And yeah, and then Jim says one must be moderate in their moderation. So there you go. There you go. Yeah. Yeah. It's I've gotten into whiskey over the last, probably 3 or 4 years. And man, during the pandemic, yikes. And I've tried pulling that. I'm actually being super successful pulling that back to a little more moderation in the space. It's delicious. It's just really, and I have a really good time with my kids. Like I don't do it very often outside the house. It's mostly here when the kids are here and we have a good time. Like it's those moments, right? It's those
Yeah.
moments where you're having a good time and they'll remember.
Hey,
And
everything has a season.
yeah, yeah. Tony says, don't look up the definition of alcohol overuse. Yeah, it's probably a good idea. Probably a good idea. Marv, thanks for coming. Can you hang tight while I close this up?
Sure. Yep.
Is that okay? We are live every Thursday, 8 p.m. Central, 9 Eastern, out here at theaverageguy.tv/live. If you're joining for the first time, you made it this far through this conversation. Thanks. Like, I enjoy these kinds of conversations too. It's why I show up every week. Sometimes we talk about some things. Sometimes we talk about other. We talk about them in moderation. So it's a good way. If you want to join us in our Discord group, head out to theaverageguy.tv/Discord. Good group of individuals out there, super moderate, and just a couple threads a week. Nothing that's too hard you got to commit to, and lurk if you want. Again, that's theaverageguy.tv/Discord. If you want to leave me a message, head out to homegadgetgeeks.com, and there's a little button down there. I just started paying for a pod page. So Brendan, I think that's who runs that.
Yep.
He stopped free plans. And this is one of those things, like, I'm a big free guy, and I was like, but the pod page over at homegadgetgeeks.com is so good. Like, the guy's done so much good stuff. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna try it for a while. I'm gonna go with the paid plan, and we'll see how it goes. You can head over there, hit there's a little microphone button, leave a message for me, and we'll play it here on the show. Of course, the AverageGuy.tv platform, both web and media hosting, is powered by Maple Grove Partners. If you need secure, reliable, high-speed hosting from folks that you know and you trust, and that's Christian, check out his plans. I think they still have $10 plans available, $10 a month. Maple Grove Partners, all one word, maplegrovepartners.com. Christian's on next week, by the way. So if you're listening live or you're on the podcast listening the week after, come out next Thursday, the 27th. Christian will do his version of a Cyber Frontiers. We've just rolled that, Marv. That's one of those intent to roll that podcast into this. It was just easier than for me trying to maintain 2 technology podcasts. So we just have him on once a quarter. And then Randy Walker is behind him, and I got Paul Brand scheduled for early September. So we got some stuff going on. We'd love to have you connect with us live. Come out Thursday nights. Big thanks to Tony and Jim Shoemaker. Brian Auer was out there. I saw Ken a little bit earlier. Joe was out there. Big thanks to you guys who showed up live, and we'd love to have you do it as well. Every Thursday, 8 p.m. Central, most Thursdays, 8 p.m. Central, 9 Eastern, out here at the AverageGuy.tv live. For everybody who came out live, thanks, and we'll do it again next week. With that, we'll say goodbye, everybody. Marv, thanks again. That's super fun. Thanks for. Do you need to turn the air back on? Is it unbearably?
No, we're good. I have a fan over here too.
Does it work for you to? Yeah. I mean, because I had a fan in the shed. I insulated the shed so I could go out there and enjoy a cigar from time to time when I need to. And I put an air conditioner in, and without the insulation, it just wouldn't even keep up. So I insulated the shed, and now I turn the air on, and it actually works. Keeps it about 5 degrees cooler, the best part is it dehumidifies it, which makes it bearable, right?
Hmm.
But before I did that, I had a fan in there, a powerful fan. Didn't matter. Like 90-degree air being blown at you wears you out, just like standing there and sweating is what I
So
found.
luckily, I do just about all my podcasts in at night. So I do, like I told you, I throw the air way down and it stays cool. And usually by the time I'm done, I'm good. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's good. Yeah. I do not like heat. I cannot live where you live. I would lose my
really?
mind. Yeah, oh, no. No.
It's not that bad.
No, it's hot. It's hot all the time.
It's
It
a
is
it's
bad.
a it's a wet heat.
Which which is even worse.
I know.
For me anyway. Some people really like it, right? But
So
it's
it was funny. I was looking at the temperature before we started.
yeah.
So I didn't see what the real feel was, but
Yeah.
it's the same temperature now at 10:30 p.m. here in Florida. It's 85 degrees. The real feel is 99.
Oh, God, that is so brutal.
It's just
Right now,
right
99.
right
It
now.
feels
Yep.
like
Uh,
99.
I'll hold this up so that people can
Yeah.
see. That is it right there.
Is that AccuWeather's
Yes.
app? Yeah. Yeah, see, I can't do that. I mean, it's 75 here. Now we've had an unseasonably cool week. So it's 75 now. What's the real feel? Does it say on this thing? Oh, it feels like 75. So it's 75 and it feels like 75. That's the kind of weather I'm talking about.
Mhm.
Now, next week, next Tuesday, 96. Next Wednesday, 99. Next Thursday, 97. Next Friday, 94. So, a time of judgment is coming for
Yeah.
us. But
But here's the question. What's the
it
real feel? Because
well,
for
yeah.
us, like tomorrow, let's see. Let me go to so tomorrow our high will get to 92, but the real feel will be 108, which actually isn't bad because for the
Yeah.
last 2 weeks we've been above 115 for the real feel.
Right. Right. Yeah, so on when it's 99, it'll be 108, or 110 because we have the high humidity during those times. So it'll be but the difference is it does that 4 times a year here. It's every day for you.
It's true.
Right?
Yeah,
I
pretty
just
much.
can't. I just can't. Tony said he had just to buy $1,000 dehumidifier in the crawl space,
Oh,
which is smart. I mean, I think I would be smart to put one up in our crawl space because it gets so hot up there. And if you can just clear out the humidity from your attic, the insulation just has to work less. It's better for the shingles,
yeah.
all of those things. So Jim Shoemaker in St. Louis says 81 in St. Louis feels like 83. Yeah, we're in a good Joe's down in Joe, you're down in Arkansas, right? 85 and 98. Ouch.
Wow.
Yeah. And Tony says 72. Yeah, we're in a nice spot just now down to 74 here. Tonight would be a nice night to go out and sit on the deck. Like it's 74 degrees out there. And I was out earlier. Yesterday the humidity was super high. Today it was pretty low. So I mowed. Guess when I mowed? Not today. I mowed yesterday. I mowed yesterday with a towel around my neck because it was so humid.
So my wife mowed yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She have a towel around her neck?
She has to come in for breaks.
Yeah. Oh.
She started mowing. I think she started 6 o'clock because I go home. So on Wednesdays is when I do my live show. So I have to leave here to get home by 6 so we can eat. So I can be back down here by 7. So she got my dinner ready, then went out and started mowing, and it's hot.
Yeah. Oh, unbearably hot. And is the Govee or Ego or
Ego.
whatever Ego, is that self-propelled or no?
Actually, no, but those
Okay.
things are light.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Well,
Although I'm thinking of the self-propelled, since she's the one that actually does the mowing, I do everything else. So I'll do the trimming and the hedging and all that stuff. But she,
Mhm.
because I can't say that she does work, but she works for me and not all the time. So she's
Right.
like, I'll take care of the house stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's nice. I don't let anybody touch the mower. Like, no,
Really.
no, that's my job. Like, don't. And then we've had so much rain over the last 2 weeks. We're up to like 2 or 3 cuts a week now. Where like if you really want to keep your grass under control, it's taken at least 2 cuts a week.
Oh,
And so, I'll trim on Saturday, then mow. Then you got to go out Wednesday or Thursday and mow again, and then mow again on Saturday because it's
okay. How
just
big is your
keeping up.
yard?
Not very big, not very big. I mean, it's big enough. It's probably 4,000 square feet or so. So,
Okay, that's about what ours is.
yeah, it's not huge, and it's less now because I put the fire pit in. But it still takes about the same amount of time because I got to mow around the fire pit. That used to just be a cut through. Now I got to go around it and trim around it. So I don't know
Yeah,
if I
she
saved
takes time
anything.
because we've got, like I mentioned, we got trees, we've got the pavers, we've got the
Yeah.
pool.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
it's a lot
Yeah.
of spots.
No, it's a lot. It's a lot. No matter how you slice it. I even took a section that I turned natural this year. So I'm only mowing it occasionally, letting it I planted clover in it to get the clover flowers for the bees, so I tried going like a natural section kind of thing. I don't know.
Hmm,
I don't know if it's saving me anything. I don't know. Moderation, right?
moderation.
All things in moderation. All things in moderation. Tony said it actually is his dehumidifier going into the house. Keep it drier under there. Yeah, that would make sense. He finally got rid of the trampoline. Mowing's a lot easier, and that is true. Do you ever have a trampoline?
No,
No. Yeah, death traps for sure. That's a broken leg. That should come with like an insurance policy. When you buy a trampoline, you have to buy an extra add-on to your
there
insurance
should be,
policy.
yeah.
Yeah. This is
Or
a
get the
dangerous.
net the new ones come with the netting around it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. My kids broke my brother's. They were down there, just smashed it. I was like, "You want a new one?" He's like, "No, I've been trying to get rid of this one for a while." So it's a good excuse to get rid of it. These guys, my kids are too big for this too. So, guys, if you're listening live, thanks for coming out. We'll let you go. I need to get some cooler air back in Marv's place. So, thanks for coming out. We'll see you next week. Again, Christian's here, so come back and see us. Have a good evening, and for all of you who came out and joined us live, thanks for doing it. We'll see you next week. Take care, everybody.
Holla.